The deep space array stood silent. Far beyond the noise of Earth, it had listened to the stars for decades. Static pulses. The distant hum of the universe. Nothing unusual, nothing dangerous. But tonight was different. At 2:17 GMT, the array caught something strange. A faint signal, repeating again and again. At first it sounded harmless, just a soft rhythm lost in the void. But as the computers cleaned the distortion, the rhythm grew clearer. A pattern, a message. The signal came from deep space, not from a star, not from a planet, but from the darkness between. The technician on duty leaned closer to the console. His heart skipped. He rewound it, played it again. It wasn't random static. It was deliberate. Someone or something had sent it. He picked up the phone and called his supervisor. His voice shook. "Sir, I think we've got something." The news traveled fast inside the array control center. Experts were called in. The message was run through every filter, every decryption program humanity had. Hours passed. Signal never stopped. It was a calm, repeating tone. Over and over, like a heartbeat echoing across light-years. By dawn, linguists and cryptographers were staring at the results. It wasn't just sound, it was language. The repeating phrase became clearer. With each pass, the machine stripped away the static. Letters formed. Words appeared. Finally, after 14 hours of work, the first complete translation appeared on the screen. The room went silent. The message was short. Only 3 words. Prepare the harvest. For several minutes, no one spoke. Some thought it was a mistake. Others laughed nervously, saying it had to be a prank. Maybe even an old Earth broadcast. It's bouncing back from space. But the linguists shook their heads. No, the structure was too complex. The tone shifts to alien. This wasn't human. The technicians replayed the signal. The phrase repeated, steady, calm, and cold. Prepare the harvest. Prepare the harvest. Prepare the harvest. Every repeat made the room colder. What harvest? Was speaking, and who or what was the harvest? The message reached the United Nations within hours. A secret emergency session was held. The world leaders sat in silence as the phrase was played again and again. Some said it was nothing. Just a coincidence. A meaningless phrase, maybe even a misunderstanding in translation. Others weren't so sure. The phrase wasn't asking, it was commanding, not a question, not a warning, a statement, preparation. One general slammed his hand on the table. "If they mean what I think they mean, then we are the harvest." The room erupted in chaos. Across the world, rumors spread. The signal was meant to be secret, but secrets never last. A leak on social media claimed the truth. Aliens are coming. They want to harvest us. Panic spread in whispers. Was it true? The governments denied it, but their silence said more than words. News stations debated it endlessly. Scientists appeared on television saying it was probably nothing, probably natural. It's probably harmless. But in hidden rooms, the military wasn't so calm. Satellites were repositioned. Probes were launched. Old defense programs, long buried, were quietly brought back online. Humanity prepared in silence. Back at the array, the message continued. Non-stop. A calm alien voice. Repeating the same phrase again and again. Technicians tried to trace its source. It wasn't easy. The signal seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. From the deep void between stars, but one thing was clear, it was moving closer. Each day, the signal grew stronger. Someone was coming. Weeks passed, the message never changed. Some thought it was a warning, others thought it was a countdown. The world split into 2 kinds of people, those who laughed and ignored it, and those who lay awake at night, staring at the sky. In classrooms, children asked their teachers if aliens were real. In churches, priests spoke of Judgment Day. Conspiracy forums exploded with theories, invaders, ancient gods, secret government experiment. But one fact remained. No one on Earth could deny the signal existed, and it was meant for us. In military bases across the planet, quiet mobilization began. Satellites scanned the skies harder than ever before. Fleets ran silent drills. Nuclear weapons were checked, counted, polished. Generals spoke in whispers. If it's a threat, we must be ready. Engineers worked in secret facilities, building weapons the public didn't know existed. Prototypes that had been waiting for decades, just in case. For years, humanity had suspected this day might come. Not everyone believed, but some did, and they had prepared. On Earth, the debates raged. Was the phrase hostile? Was it misunderstood? Could harvest mean something else? A few optimists said maybe it meant crops, or energy, or a resource. We didn't understand. Maybe the aliens were friendly, but deep inside everyone knew. The tone, the structure, the way the words repeated like a command. It wasn't friendly. The aliens weren't asking permission. They were making a statement. Prepare the harvest. And humanity had no choice but to answer. On the 42nd day since detection, the signal changed. For weeks, it had been the same phrase. Boom. But now, the rhythm shifted. The words stretched. A new sentence began to emerge. The technicians froze as the computers worked. New letters appeared. New words formed. The room filled with fear as the phrase unfolded. The aliens were no longer speaking into the void. They were speaking directly to Earth. The words glowed on the screen. The harvest begins soon. And then silence. The signal ended for the first time in 6 weeks. The stars went quiet. Humanity was left with only one truth. Something out there was coming, and it was coming for them. The silence was worse than the signal. For 42 days, the alien phrase had haunted. Humanity, prepare the harvest. Over and over, until it burned into the minds of every scientist, soldier, and frightened citizen who had heard it. And then, without warning, it had stopped. At first, the world celebrated. Maybe the aliens had left. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe Earth was safe. But in the deep chambers of the United Nations Security Council, no one celebrated. Silence was not safety. Silence was danger. And then, 1 week later, the silence ended. The signal returned louder, stronger, sharper than before. This time, it carried more than 3 words. The computers inside the deep space array scrambled. To catch up, the tone was different. It pulsed like a drumbeat, each note layered with alien harmonics. Linguists huddled over their consoles. Cryptographers worked without sleep. Every second of the new signal mattered. The technicians played it again and again. Slowly, words emerged. This was no longer a repeating chant. This was a conversation. The fragments revealed themselves. Harvest fleet inbound. Cycle complete. Human biomass ready. Every phrase was a knife. The room froze when the last line appeared. Do not resist. The message reached world leaders within hours. In a hidden chamber beneath Geneva, presidents, generals, the debate began instantly. The debate began instantly. Maybe it's mistranslation, said one advisor. No, the linguists insisted. The context is clear. The words weren't random. They were instructions. The aliens weren't guessing. They knew humanity was here, and they were coming to harvest it. Despite efforts to keep it secret, the truth leaked again. Screens around the world buzzed with rumors. News channels replayed shaky recordings of the decoded phrases. Harvest fleet inbound. Human biomass ready. Do not resist. Panic was no longer whispers. It was everywhere. Markets collapsed. Some cities rioted. Others prayed. Governments begged for calm, but their voices shook. On social media, one question trended above. All others, are we food? Inside military bunkers, the reaction was different. Fear turned to steel. Generals argued. Engineers drew plans. Pilots trained harder than ever before. If the aliens thought humanity would roll over, they were wrong. In a war room beneath Washington, a general spoke firmly. They believe we are cattle. They believe they can harvest us. They will learn otherwise. Across the ocean in Moscow. Another general said almost the same words. In Beijing, London, New Delhi, every nation spoke the same unspoken vow. If aliens came for Earth, Earth would fight. While soldiers prepared for war, the scientists uncovered something worse. The signal wasn't just a message, it was a map. Hidden in the data stream was star coordinate information. The aliens weren't just sending words, they were transmitting navigation. The coordinates pointed to one place, our solar system. The signal wasn't random. It was a beacon, a guide, a countdown. The fleet wasn't looking for Earth. It was already on its way. In lecture halls, scientists whispered of extinction. In classrooms, children asked if they would live to grow up. On television, experts tried to explain calmly, but their eyes betrayed the truth. Humanity had always dreamed of contact. Now contact meant death. Conspiracy theorists shouted that. Governments had known for decades. Some claimed the fleet had already arrived, but the truth was clear. The fleet was still out there, traveling through the stars, growing closer every day. The only question was when. In hidden facilities, secret projects were unlocked. Experimental weapons long considered too dangerous were dusted off. Orbital cannons, railguns, antimatter warheads, the public never saw them. But behind closed doors, engineers worked 20-hour shifts. Humanity's survival depended on being ready. At the same time, scientists raced to study the signal itself. Was there a weakness in the alien technology? Could the signal be jammed? Could it be turned against them? Every day felt like stolen time. The world fractured into camps. Some demanded surrender. We cannot fight a fleet that crosses the stars, they said. Better to kneel than to burn. Others demanded resistance. If they come, we fight to the last. It's better to die free than live as cattle. And many, lost in fear, simply tried to ignore it. They went to work. They played games. They pretended nothing was happening. But at night, they dreamed of ships blotting out the sky. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Buried in the signal was more than language. It's more than a map. It was history. The aliens had done this. Before countless times, species across the galaxy had sent their desperate signals into the void. None had survived. Every signal followed the same pattern. First, the phrase, then the countdown. Then silence, and then nothing because those worlds were gone. Humanity was not the first harvest, but it swore it would be the last. 84th day since first contact. The signal grew so strong that every radio on Earth caught fragments. Farmers in Kansas, miners in Siberia, children with walkie-talkies. Every receiver hummed with alien words. The harvest message was everywhere. And then, a final phrase emerged. The translation came through clearly. It's projected on giant screens in every control room. Harvest fleet arriving. Prepare compliance. In the skies above Earth, telescopes turned toward the void. And for the first time, humanity saw the truth. On the edge of the solar system, dark shapes moved. Hundreds of them, thousands, the harvest fleet had arrived. And Earth was out of time. Fear spread faster than fire. The moment telescopes confirmed the dark shapes at the edge of the solar system, the world split apart. News stations ran the same headline. The harvest fleet is real. Some people screamed. Some prayed. Some refused to believe it at all. And inside the bunkers of world governments, leaders argued, not over whether the aliens were coming, but over what humanity should do about it. Should Earth fight? Should it hide? Or should it surrender and beg for mercy? Well, the answers would divide the world. In Geneva, under the flickering lights of the United Nations chamber, the greatest powers met. The American president slammed his fist on the table. We cannot bow to them. If we surrender, humanity dies anyway. The Russian general leaned forward. Fight. With what? We barely reached the moon. They crossed the stars. The Chinese premier spoke coldly. Maybe surrender will buy us time. We must consider survival, not pride. The room erupted. Voices shouted in dozens of languages. Some called for unity, others for immediate surrender. But unity was fragile. Fear was stronger. On the streets, the division was worse. In London, Thousands marched with signs. Peace with the stars. It demanded negotiation, not war. In New York, another crowd screamed, "Fight or die." Fistfights broke out between protesters. In small towns, people vanished into bunkers, storing food. Arming themselves in churches and temples, voices whispered desperate prayers everywhere. People asked the same question: what does it mean to be human when another species sees you as cattle? One group rose quickly, the surrender faction. They believed humanity stood no chance. If we kneel, they said, perhaps the aliens will spare us, or maybe they don't want to destroy us, only use us. Their leaders argued that survival, even as servants, was better than extinction. Some governments listened.
Else.
Secret channels opened, broadcasting into space. Begging for dialogue, no reply came. The only answer was the alien signal, repeating over and over, "Do not resist." But another movement grew even stronger, the resistance faction. These people refused to accept slavery or death. They filled the streets shouting, "We are not cattle." In hidden factories, volunteers built weapons. Retired soldiers returned to service. Teenagers lied about their age to join militias. In Europe, someone painted words on the wall of a ruined building. The words spread like fire across the internet. Humanity bows to no one. While the world argued, the secret plan, called Project Starbound, advanced quietly in hidden shipyards under the oceans and inside asteroids. Humanity had been preparing for decades. The public never knew. Massive warships, silent and black, waited in secret. Not many. Not as large as the alien fleet. But built with one goal: survival. The generals argued in silence. Do we reveal them now? Not yet. The people aren't ready, but time was running out. The division cut deeper than nations. It broke families. One brother joined the peace movement, demanding surrender. His sister joined the militia, swearing to fight. Husbands and wives argued late into the night. Parents begged their children to stay safe. Children asked questions no parent could answer. What happens if they come tomorrow? What happens if they eat us? No one had answers, only fear. Then something new happened. A pirate radio station hijacked the airwaves. The voice was calm, human, steady. "People of Earth," it said, "do not trust your leaders. Some plan to surrender us, some plan to hide, but the truth is simple. If we kneel, we die. If we run, we die. The only way forward is to fight." The broadcast ended, but millions heard it. Millions repeated its words. The only way forward is to fight. In many cities, order collapsed. Pro-surrender crowds clashed with pro-resistance militias. Governments struggled to hold control. In some nations, armies fired on their own people. The aliens hadn't even arrived yet, and already humanity was tearing itself apart. That was when the alien signal changed again. For weeks, the message had been the same, but now new words appeared. The linguists trembled as they decoded them. Compliance is survival. Resistance is death. The timing was perfect. The aliens had chosen their words carefully. Humanity was divided in the aliens. Knew it. Inside the United Nations bunker, the leaders faced the hardest choice in human history: vote to resist, or vote to surrender. The ballots were cast in silence. One by one, slips of paper fell into the box. The count took less than 10 minutes. When the final number was revealed, the room fell into stunned silence. The world was almost evenly split. Half for resistance, half for surrender. No unity, no single voice for humanity, only division. In the skies above Earth, the alien fleet grew closer. Their ships were now visible in amateur telescopes, black specks crawling against the stars. In bunkers, families watched the sky. In streets, crowds screamed for answers. In laboratories, scientists raced to understand alien technology. But above it all, one truth hung heavy. Humanity was divided, and a divided humanity could not survive what was coming, as the alien signal pulsed louder than ever. One chilling phrase shook the earth once more. Harvest begins soon. The night sky looked calm. Billions of stars burned like jewels above Earth, silent and eternal. To most people, it was beautiful. To those who knew the truth, it was terrifying. Because hidden among those stars just past Jupiter's orbit, the harvest fleet was waiting, and on Earth, in places no civilian had ever seen. Another fleet was stirring. For decades, humanity had built ships in shadows, hidden beneath oceans, inside mountains, under the ice of Antarctica, and even hollowed into asteroids. These ships were not meant for exploration. They were weapons. They were the real Project Starbound. And now, as the alien fleet drew closer, humanity's fleet began to wake in the Pacific Ocean. Far below the waves, a massive hangar door rumbled open. Water rushed out, bubbles rising like a storm. From the darkness emerged a black shape, the size of a skyscraper, Earth's first true warship. Its name was ISS Resolute. Across the world, other doors opened. In the Nevada desert, a mountain split apart, revealing silver holes hidden inside. In Siberia, steel platforms rose through the ice, launching long, spear-like ships into the sky. On the dark side of the moon, shadows moved as hidden bases came alive. One by one, humanity's fleet left hiding. Their engines glowed blue, their weapons armed. The fleet was small compared to the alien armada, but it was fierce. There were 312 warships in total. Some were massive battleships, bristling with railguns and missile bays. Others were smaller, fast attack ships designed to slash and vanish. A handful carried secret weapons no one dared speak about outside of command circles, prototypes that could change the war or destroy Earth by accident. On every ship, human crews strapped into their stations. They were nervous, terrified, but determined. For the first time in history, humanity had a fleet among the stars, and it existed for one reason: to fight. When the first images leaked of the warships leaving Earth's atmosphere, shock spread across the world. Some shouted in anger, "Why did they hide this from us?" Some cheered, "We are not helpless anymore." Others wept because the truth was undeniable now. The war was real. Governments finally admitted the secret. Project Starbound was revealed. Humanity had weapons. Humanity had ships, but the alien fleet was still larger. Telescopes tracked the alien ships as they moved past Saturn. Their formation was perfect. A predator's slow, patient stalk. There were thousands of them. Some looked like giant blades of obsidian. Others were vast cubes, glowing with strange lights. Their size dwarfed even the largest human battleships. Yet they did not rush. They advanced slowly, as though savoring the hunt. The alien signal pulsed again. Stronger, louder, impossible to ignore. "Do not resist. Prepare the harvest." The words crawled across every screen, every radio, every device on Earth. Even those who still denied the truth could no longer escape it. Admiral Reyes, commander of the Starbound fleet, addressed her crews. Her voice echoed through every ship. "Listen well. They think we are prey. They think we will kneel. But we are not prey. We are humanity. Today, we show them the cost of underestimating us. We fight not for survival alone. We fight for every species they destroyed before us. We fight so the galaxy will know humanity bows to no one." A roar of voices filled the comms. Fear was still there, but so was fire. The fleet formed near Mars, engines burning bright against the void. Humanity's first interstellar army waited for the enemy, but even as the fleet deployed, Earth's leaders argued, "What if the aliens are too strong?" One whispered, "We cannot win a frontal assault. Maybe some should still negotiate." But Reyes silenced them with one sentence: "They are not coming to talk. They are coming to feed." The words ended the debate. Inside the warships, tension was heavy. Pilots checked their fighters again and again, even when nothing was wrong. Soldiers kissed pictures of their families before sealing their helmets. Engineers whispered prayers to machines, hoping they would not fail. Most had never left Earth before. Now they stared out at the endless black, knowing death could come. At any moment, Yet, in their hearts, something else burned: pride. For the first time, they were not helpless. As the fleet assembled near Mars, humanity's long-range scanners screamed with alerts. The alien ships had accelerated, thousands of signatures, moving with terrifying precision. Breaking through Jupiter's orbit, the Harvest fleet was not waiting anymore. It was coming straight for Earth. On Earth, billions watched the news as the countdown began. Alien fleet estimated arrival: 12 days. Every day felt like a lifetime. Some cities emptied as people fled underground. Others partied in the streets, living their last days without fear. The world held its breath in space. The Starbound fleet stood ready. Humanity's warships were tiny compared to the alien armada. But they had something the aliens did not: desperation. And desperation could make prey into predators. On the 12th day, humanity saw them. Across the void, enormous shapes broke into full view. Ships miles long, glowing with unnatural light. Weapons shining like stars, the alien fleet filled the sky. A wall of death moving toward Earth. Inside the ISS Resolute, alarms blared. Weapons locked. Crews braced for the first true battle in human history. Admiral Reyes stood tall, eyes burning. "Transmit to every channel," she ordered. "Yes, Admiral. What message?" Her voice was calm, steady, unyielding. "Tell them. This: we are not cattle, and we do not kneel." The transmission went out, and the war for Earth began. The blackness of space erupted with light. The Harvest fleet had crossed Jupiter's orbit. Thousands of alien ships, blacker than night, slid forward in perfect formation. Their hulls shimmered with strange patterns, like oil on water. Some were longer than cities, their shadows blotting out stars. In comparison, humanity's fleet was small, tiny even. 312 warships gathered near Mars, waiting. Their engines glowed faint blue, their hulls gleamed with Earth's. Flags and markings. Each one was a symbol of resistance, of survival. Every soldier knew the truth. The aliens had numbers, aliens had size, but humanity had desperation, and desperation was a weapon too. The first encounter was about to begin. On the ISS Resolute, Admiral Reyes stared at the holographic display. Though the alien ships were advancing like a tide, range to contact. Asked, 17 million kilometers in closing, Admiral, the navigator replied. The number sounded large. But in space, it was nothing. Minutes, hours at best. The crews spoke little. Minks hovered over controls. Eyes flicked between screens. Heartbeats thundered in helmets. In the void of space, there was no sound. Only the silence of waiting, and then the silence ended. Every radio, every comms channel, every ship's speaker crackled at once. The alien voice returned, cold and mechanical, echoing across the fleet. Compliance equals survival. Resistance equals extinction. The words repeated again and again, as if taunting them. Reyes clenched her jaw. Mute that noise. All ships, prepare to fire on my mark. For the first time in human history, Earth's weapons pointed not at each other, but at the stars. The honor of the first shot fell to the Vanguard. A missile destroyer stationed near the asteroid belt, its captain whispered, "For Earth." Of missiles streaked through space, their engines flaring white against the void. They cut across the black, targeting the nearest alien Vanguard ship. The missiles struck. Explosions lit the darkness. For one moment, it looked as if humanity had scored its first victory. Then the alien ship emerged, untouched. Its hull glowed faintly. The missiles had not even scratched the surface. The crew of the Vanguard stared in horror, but Admiral Reyes did not flinch. All ships, open fire, railguns thundered. Kinetic slugs shot through space at incredible speed. Laser arrays lit up, stabbing beams of light across the void. Humanity's fleet unleashed its fury. Space itself seemed to blaze with fire and steel. For the first time, the Harvest fleet met prey that fought back. The alien response was swift and merciless. From the nearest mothership, a flash of light erupted, pure, blinding energy. It cut through space like a scythe. The human ship Orion vanished in an instant, torn apart without a sound. Hundreds of lives gone in a heartbeat. Seconds later, more beams fired. Human ships exploded, one by one, flaring like dying stars. The first encounter was turning into a massacre, but humanity was never only about strength. It was about adaptation. The smaller frigates darted between asteroids, using cover. Pilots weaved through enemy fire, launching rail slugs at weak points. On the Resolute, engineers shouted, "The shields, they're directional. Focus fire where they glow weakest." The fleet adjusted. Railguns concentrated fire on one section of an alien cruiser. The hull cracked.
Ow.
For the first time, an alien ship burned. The cheer across the comms was raw, desperate, triumphant. Target down, target down. Humanity had drawn blood. The battle raged near Jupiter's orbit. The gas giant loomed like a silent witness, its red storms swirling. Human ships darted in its shadow, using its moons as cover. Alien ships moved with eerie precision, forming walls of fire. Their weapons scythed through space, but their formation slowed them. For every human ship lost, another fought harder. Desperation was buying time, and time was survival. But the cost was brutal. The destroyer Horizon split in two, its crew screaming into silence. The frigate Ajax rammed into an alien cruiser, sacrificing itself to shatter the enemy's hull. Thousands of human lives burned in fire and steel. Admiral Reyes watched the casualty count rise, her hands trembling. But her voice never wavered. "Keep firing. Make them bleed for every meter." Then came a flash of genius, a young lieutenant. Aboard the Dauntless, noticed something strange. Alien shields flickered when struck by multiple angles at once. He shouted into Cum's coordinated strikes. "Triangulate fire." The fleet obeyed. 3 battleships targeted the same alien mothership from different angles. Their railguns slammed home at once. The alien shield collapsed. Explosions tore through the massive hull. The mothership split apart. In a blaze of light, cheers erupted across the human fleet. The impossible had happened. Humanity had destroyed a mothership. For the first time, the alien formation faltered. Their advance slowed. Their movements grew less perfect. The predators had underestimated their prey. Humanity's wrath had teeth, but victory was short-lived as the alien mothership burned. New signals erupted across every human channel. Linguists decoded them, faces pale with fear. Harvest's fleet adjusting. Deploying executioners. And then, from the rear of the alien armada, larger shapes emerged. Vast ships, unlike anything seen before, black and jagged. Their weapons glowing with unnatural energy. Executioners, the first encounter, was not over it. Was only the beginning. The battlefield near Jupiter burned. Wreckage floated in silence-broken ships. Shattered lives, fire trapped in the void. Human vessels limped through debris, their hulls scarred and smoking. And still the Harvest fleet advanced, endless, unstoppable. Then, the new ships appeared. The executioners. They were larger than anything humanity had ever seen. Long, black. Forms bristling with strange weapons, each the size of a small continent. Their hulls pulsed with dark energy, glowing veins that lit the void like thunderclouds before a storm. The alien signal echoed. Once more, resistance equals extinction. Admiral Reyes whispered almost to herself, "Then extinction will have to fight for us." And she gave the order humanity had been waiting for. Release the wrath. For years, humanity had hidden weapons no treaty ever allowed, no scientist ever admitted. Its prototypes too dangerous for peace, too powerful to test. Now, those weapons came alive. On the ISS Resolute, massive bays opened. Inside were sleek, spear-like drones carrying warheads of antimatter. On the Dauntless, a railgun longer than a city block prepared its first charge. On secret platforms orbiting Earth, coils of energy snapped as experimental plasma cannons powered. Up this was the wrath of humanity. Not polished, not perfect, but born of desperation and rage. The alien giants advanced, their weapons charging. Beams of violet energy erupted, cutting through space. One shot grazed the battleship indomitably, and half the ship vanished. Dissolved into glowing ash dot, the executioners were monsters. But humanity fought like cornered wolves. Squadrons of fighters swarmed, weaving between alien fire, launching torpedoes at weak points. Railguns slammed into enemy shields, forcing cracks into their armor. Antimatter drones darted forward, exploding in blossoms of light that shook even the executioners. For the first time, the Harvest Fleet reeled. On every human ship, voices screamed. Orders. Gunners fired until their hands bled. Pilots blacked out under crushing G-forces. Engineers patched holes with whatever they could find. It was chaos, raw and brutal, but it was human chaos. Chaos was unpredictable. The executioners fired with perfect precision. Humanity fought with fury, and fury was stronger. One executioner ship staggered under a wave of coordinated fire. Rail slugs shattered its shields, plasma bursts scorched its armor, and finally, a kamikaze strike from the frigate Hammerfall slammed. Into its core, the alien Titan exploded in a silent storm of fire. Cheers erupted across human coms. We got one. Executioner down. It was proof they could bleed. They could die. With renewed fire, humanity pushed harder. Admiral Reyes barked into the coms. Coordinate. Aim for the cracks in their shields. Focus fire, don't waste it. Human ships moved as one. Waves of railguns slammed into the same targets. Plasma arcs seared weak points. Missiles struck where armor split. Another executioner fell, and another. The Harvest Fleet, so perfect, so precise, began to falter. For the first time in their long reign of terror, the predators faced prey that fought back with rage. But every victory demanded blood. The Dauntless overloaded its great railgun, firing one final shot that tore straight through an executioner's heart. The alien ship died, but so did the Dauntless, its reactor burning out. Its crew lost with it. The carrier Endurance unleashed its full fighter wings, buying time for the fleet. Alien beams cut it apart in seconds. Thousands of lives vanished. In a flash, the wrath of humanity was terrible. It was not free. Deep within the alien fleet, commanders watched in silence. For centuries, their harvests had been simple. Species begged, species surrendered, species died, but humanity did not beg, did not surrender, did not die quietly. The aliens spoke in their cold signal. Prey has teeth. Prey is dangerous. Prey must be eliminated. And for the first time, there was a trace of something in their voice. Not certainty, not command, but unease. On Earth, billions watched through shaky broadcasts, grainy images of battleships exploding and alien titans burning. Crowds in the streets screamed the same words again and again. We are not cattle. The words spread like fire, shouted in every language on every continent. Humanity's wrath was not only in the stars, it was in every heart on Earth. Even those who once begged for surrender now stood with fists raised, tears burning their eyes. If this was extinction, then it would not come quietly. But Admiral Reyes knew the truth. Humanity had bloodied the fleet, but not broken it. More executioners waited. More motherships advance. If Earth waited for them to reach the planet, billions would die. There was only one choice left. She leaned over the command console. Her voice was steady. Prepare the Aegis protocol. Her officers froze. Admiral, if we use that, we could destroy Mars. We could destroy ourselves. Reyes stared at the burning holograms of alien ships. If we do nothing, there will be no humanity left to destroy. The order went through. Deep inside the ISS Resolute, a chamber opened. Inside was a weapon humanity had sworn never to use, a sphere of unstable antimatter. large enough to tear a planet apart. The Aegis Protocol was armed as the alien fleet advanced. Admiral Reyes gave her last order. Transmit this signal to the galaxy. Let them all hear it. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity does not beg. Humanity fights. The weapon's core began to glow. The wrath of humanity was about to be unleashed in full, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Aegis Protocol detonated. A white light tore across the void, brighter than 1,000 suns. The alien executioners, nearest to Mars, shattered, their massive hulls ripped apart in silence. The shockwave flung wreckage in every direction, scattering burning fragments into the black. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then came the cheers. Across every human channel, voices screamed, cried, laughed in disbelief. They had survived the impossible. They had struck a blow so massive the Harvest fleet staggered. But in the ruins of alien wreckage, humanity found something that changed. Everything. Fragments of alien ships floated through the void. Wounded frigates and scavenger drones darted into the debris, pulling pieces inside for study. On the ISS Resolute, scientists picked apart alien technology in sealed chambers. What they uncovered made their blood run cold. The aliens had been recording. Every broadcast, every world, every harvest, inside the alien cores, hidden among strange circuitry, were holographic archives, and when the scientists decrypted them, the galaxy's nightmare was revealed. Dozens of species appeared in the holograms. Some looked insect-like, some reptilian, some beautiful, some terrifying. Each one alive, vibrant, intelligent, and then, in every recording, the same thing happened. The signal, the warning, the fleet, and then silence. Worlds burned. Civilizations vanished. Species screamed into the void, begging for mercy. None survived. Billions of voices, across centuries, across the galaxy, all ended the same way. Humanity was not the first harvest. Humanity was only the latest. On the Resolute, silence filled the chamber. Soldiers who had stared down death without, flinching now, shook with horror. One whispered, "How many? How many worlds?" The linguists replied with broken voices, "Thousands, maybe tens of thousands." It was genocide. Cold, efficient, endless. For centuries, galaxy had been silent not because humanity was alone, but because others had been erased. Admiral Reyes stood before the fleet, her voice echoing across every channel. "We now know the truth. These monsters did not come for humanity alone. They have wiped out countless worlds before us. They have slaughtered billions, and they believe the cycle will continue." Her voice hardened, sharp as steel, but it ends here. It ends with us. We fight not only for Earth, but for every voice they silenced, for every species they harvested, for every world they destroyed. Humanity fights for them all. A roar of voices answered across the fleet. The fear of extinction burned away. In its place was rage. This was no longer survival. This was vengeance, back on Earth. The recordings leaked. Billions watched alien archives of other species being slaughtered, their last screams echoing through the void. Children crying, soldiers dying, worlds collapsing into fire, and something changed. The arguments ended. The protests ended. There was no more surrender faction, no more resistance faction, no more division. Humanity was united, not by fear, but by wrath. Crowds filled the streets, chanting one phrase, one vow, one promise to the stars. Never again with unity came focus. Engineers worked without rest, tearing apart alien wreckage for clues. Scientists built weapons faster than ever, adapting alien tech into human hands. On Earth, new factories rose overnight. On the Moon, orbital yards burned bright. Mars, scarred by the Aegis blast, became a forge of war. Every man, woman, and child contributed. Farmers grew food for the fleet. The coders wrote algorithms to predict alien tactics. Miners dug for rare metals, their sweat fueling starships. Humanity was not prey anymore. Humanity was preparing for war. The Harvest fleet adjusted its tactics. Executioners regrouped, forming walls of fire. Motherships shifted into attack patterns never before recorded, and Yet there was hesitation. The prey had teeth. The prey had fire. The cold alien signal returned, its voice less certain than before. Unacceptable resistance. Human threat must be neutralized. But humanity no longer trembled at those words. Humanity laughed as the war dragged across the solar system. Small human victories grew. The frigate Falcon disabled an alien cruiser by detonating a reactor inside its shield. The carrier Liberty unleashed waves of drones that chewed through alien formations. A single pilot, Lieutenant Caravos, rammed her fighter into an alien weapons core, saving hundreds of lives. Every battle cost blood, but every victory made. The Harvest Fleet bleed more, and each victory fueled the wrath that burned across Earth and the stars. Finally, humanity answered the alien signal with one of its own. A broadcast left Earth, carried on every frequency the Harvest Fleet had used. Loud and defiant, the words were simple, spoken by a dozen voices from every nation. We are not prey. We are not cattle. We are the wrath of the fallen. We are coming. The message echoed across the void, past the Harvest Fleet. Into the galaxy beyond, for the first time in centuries, another voice challenged the cycle. On the edge of the solar system, alien reinforcements stirred. A second wave of ships emerged from hyperspace, larger than the first. But this time, humanity did not flinch. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her fleet scarred but unbroken. The archives of dead worlds burned in her mind. This is no longer Earth's fight alone, she said. This is war for the galaxy. Her officers stared at her. Admiral, what do we do? She gave a cold, fierce smile. We take the war to them. The human fleet adjusted its course. Engines roared. For the first time, humanity left defense behind and marched toward vengeance. The human fleet left the safety of Earth behind. Engines roared, burning blue trails across the void. Ships scarred from battle pushed forward into the dark. There was no retreat, no safety, only vengeance. Behind them, Earth glowed like a jewel, fragile, small, but burning brighter than any star in human hearts. Ahead of them, the Harvest Fleet gathered. Reinforcements had come. Alien ships stretched for thousands of kilometers, black walls of metal and fire. The signal echoed again. Human resistance will be erased. But this time, Admiral Reyes answered. She stood at the center of her bridge, her eyes cold, her voice steady. Erase this. And humanity charged. The void erupted. Railguns thundered, plasma burned, drones swarmed. Human ships dove headlong into alien fire, their formations tight, their fury unbroken. Alien beams carved through frigates. Destroyers shattered under missile storms. Executioners launched fire so fierce, entire human squadrons vanished. But humanity struck back harder. Antimatter detonations split shields apart. Carriers unleashed storms of fighters like hornets attacking giants. Experimental weapons, desperate and unstable, carved holes in alien armor. Every second was chaos. Every breath was borrowed, and every human life burned with one purpose: vengeance. On Earth, billions watched. Every broadcast, every image of alien titans burning filled them with fire. Factories roared, sending more ships into the stars. Children painted symbols of war across city walls. Old men and women, too frail to fight, sent messages of defiance into the void. Humanity was united in wrath, and that wrath struck like thunder. The Resolute fired its cannons, spearing through an executioner's heart. The Liberty unleashed drones that tore an enemy flagship apart from within. The frigate Avenger rammed itself into an alien cruiser, detonating with a fire so bright it blinded sensors. For every ship lost, two more fought harder. For every death, the fleet struck with more rage. The Harvesters had never faced prey like this. Alien signals filled the void. Their calm tones, now cracked with urgency, contain them. Contain humanity. Contain, contain. For the first time, the Predators were afraid. They unleashed weapons never seen before, spheres of collapsing gravity. Storms of antimatter, beams that rip space itself apart. Worlds would have fallen to such fire. Species would have surrendered. But humanity did not surrender. They fought through it. They died through it. They lived through it. Deep inside the alien command ship, the archives revealed more truths. The harvesters had ruled for thousands of years. Their empire fed on the weak, slaughtered the strong, erased every spark of resistance. They believed the cycle, eternal. But humanity had broken it. One world stood against the tide. One species refused to kneel, and that refusal spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, other hidden voices began to stir. In distant systems, enslaved species whispered hope for the first time. In shadows, survivors of old harvests watched and dared to dream. Humanity had shown the impossible. The predators could bleed. The predators could fall. Admiral, Reyes stared at the alien flagship, a ship so massive it blotted out the stars. Its weapons burned with endless fire. It was the heart of the harvest, the command, the voice of the signal, and it had to die. Reyes gave the order. All ships, focus everything. The fleet obeyed. Every railgun, every missile, every cannon turned toward the flagship. Antimatter drones streaked forward in waves. Carias emptied their last fighters. The void blazed with light as humanity poured its fury into one target. Alien shields cracked. Armor burned. The giants staggered, and then the Resolute charged. Reyes stood tall, her crew silent but resolute. If humanity must give its blood, let it be here. The flagship's beams ripped through the Resolute, tearing its hull apart. Fires erupted. Systems failed, but the ship kept moving, straight into the alien. Flagship's heart, the Resolute's core detonated in a final explosion that lit the void like a newborn star. The alien. Flagship shattered. The harvest fleet broke. Silence fell. On Earth, the world held its breath. Then, across every channel, every screen, every frequency, came humanity's signal. It was simple. It was defiant. It was eternal. We are humanity. We are not prey. We are not cattle. We are the wrath of the fallen. And we are coming. The broadcast echoed through the stars, reaching not just the remains of the harvest fleet, but every corner of the galaxy. It was more than a message. It was a promise. The harvest fleet lay in ruins. Humanity's ships burned, scarred but alive. Earth still stood, but the war was not over. The galaxy was wide, and the predators were many. Yet for the first time in history, the cycle was broken. The silence of the stars was shattered, and humanity stood ready not as prey, not as victims, but as warriors. The signal had begun with terror, it ended with wrath, and now the galaxy would learn a new truth. Humanity does not bow. Humanity fights. Humanity rises.